Human history, the price of 1 ounce of gold has gone past 5,000 US dollars. There are many reasons why this has happened, but the main reason is that so many people in so many different parts of the world are so worried about the future. They're buying gold because they believe it will keep its value. Well, Dr Azar Jammine is the head of Econometrix, the chief economist there. Azar, good afternoon to you. It's fascinating to put this on a chart. The gold price first going past $2,000 an ounce in 2020, then to $3,000 in March last year, and then things really sped up. It went to $4,000 in October last year. Just 4 months later, today, at $5,000 an ounce. Why has it been going up so quickly?
I think you summarized it very well, but there are many sides to it. People are getting extremely nervous about the global economic and social situation, rising inequality, geopolitical and social unrest inside and between countries, and an increase in defense spending that is being urged all around the world that is going to exacerbate public debt levels that are already at records. And the only way in which governments will be able to keep this going in the future is simply to print more money. And that obviously implies higher inflation in the longer term. And gold is the world's traditional hedge against inflation. In addition, you've got central banks who around the world who have lost confidence in paper money and are buying gold to shore up their reserves. Those central bank reserves amount now to have gone up from 10% to 20% of total reserves in the past decade and a half, but have still got a long way to go to get to the 50 to 70% of reserves that gold used to take up in between 1950 and 1970, for example. So there's still enormous scope for people to carry on buying gold as a store of value. From South Africa's viewpoint, though, the really good news is that it's not just confined to gold. It also overlaps into other precious metals such as platinum, palladium, and rhodium, whose prices have rocketed even more steeply than that of gold more recently.
I mean, what's fascinating about this is that a big part of it seems to be about the US dollar. Now, in the past, the US dollar was the currency that you invested in during a time of crisis. Why is the fact that the people are worried about the dollar helping the gold price so substantially?
Simply because the two are substitutes in terms of what people want to hold in reserve. Is it a dollar or a gold? And right now, people are making their preference very clear in an environment in which Donald Trump is trying to interfere with the workings of the US Central Bank, the Federal Reserve Board, and is calling the governor of that central bank all sorts of names. Imagine Ramaphosa calling Kanyako the kind of names that Trump is calling Jerome Powell. And people are concerned that Trump is going to wangle a new head of the central bank that simply starts printing money, reduces interest rates to next to nothing, creates a huge amount of inflation to enable Trump to spend all the money that he's wanting to, but with a final outcome being a debasement in the currency and a loss in the total loss of confidence in the dollar. So people would rather invest in gold right now.
Late last year, people were talking about gold hitting $5,000 by the end of the year. And it's hit $5,000 before the end of the first month. I mean, how much more could it go, Dr. Jammine?
As I've said, if central banks increase their holdings of gold from the current 20% of their total reserves back to the traditional 50 to 70%, you know, the gold price could go to $10,000 an ounce or even more. Obviously, the faster it goes up, the more it'll encourage others to come in to supply more gold, and that will eventually limit the rate at which the price increases. But if you look at the extent to which the gold price has risen over the last 50 years and related to the increase in the amount of money in the world and the increase in the amount of debts in the world, the gold price is certainly not overvalued at the moment.
Sure. What does it mean for our economy? We are still, I think it's the 9th biggest gold miner in the world. We still have plenty of people underground in various parts of the country mining gold. We don't produce nearly as much gold as we once did for various reasons. All of those people underground maybe get increases. The companies get a lot more money in. Do they spend that money in ways that helps our economy?
This is, of course, precisely what we are hoping for, that this may turn out to be a bonanza that improves our economic growth and the opportunity for job creation and provides us with government revenue that can be used effectively to improve our infrastructure and not rely on personal taxes to keep funding the excesses. Whether that will happen or not depends very much on how the government of national unity handles this bonanza, because a bonanza it really is, especially if you incorporate platinum and palladium. I've calculated, for example, that at current prices, if they were to persist, the government would get nearly 400 billion rand more in export revenues now than it would have done a year ago. And if only a fraction of that is translated into higher taxes, that is a bonanza to the national treasury.
Platinum at the moment, $2,894 an ounce. It's also recorded very similar gains to gold and in some ways might actually have further to go. It's a slightly different story, though, because gold is really a store of value. It doesn't have that many industrial uses. Platinum is used in cars that use diesel in particular. How important is that to our economy? And we have some of the world's deepest mines, and they're involved in getting platinum out of the earth in Rustenburg.
In many respects, it's even more important than gold. We produce 4.3 million ounces of platinum per annum, compared with 3.5 million ounces of gold. And so the rise in the price of platinum from $800 to $2,900 an ounce over the past year gives us as much of a benefit as the increase in the price of gold, theoretically. Now, one of the reasons why platinum was lagging behind a few years ago was because people were saying that the world is moving towards electric vehicles and away from internal combustion engine vehicles that require platinum to be used as a catalyst to fight pollution. And so people said there will be no longer any demand for platinum or palladium in trucks for use as auto catalysts. That narrative has changed dramatically in recent times, partly as a result of Trump turning against the whole effort to fight climate change and instead favoring fossil fuels. And suddenly we find that there's an actual shortage of platinum and palladium around, and that is why their prices are surging ahead. But the cause of the increase in prices is not quite as fundamental as that of gold, and it is possible that should you have a renewed antipathy towards fossil fuels, that platinum and palladium might start falling back again. But there are substitutes, even so, in things like jewelry, and are still regarded as substitutes for gold, as hedges against inflation. So they are also benefiting to some extent from the surge in the price of gold.
So much is going on around all of this, Dr. Jammine. I mean, in some levels, this could be a really big boost for our economy. As you say, it could reduce the need for tax increases, help us pay back our national debt, get a lot more money in. I remember at one point during the pandemic, a high platinum price was literally paying for the increase in social grants that were being paid out at the time. How important is it that we use this wisely?
Absolutely critical. We have a wonderful opportunity now that came almost from heaven to give us a chance to improve our growth, to sort out our political problems as a consequence, to reduce inequality. And one just sincerely hopes that this is properly managed by the powers that be. If there is undue interference and demands to regulate the way in which we increase production of these precious metals, then I'm afraid we will not reap the full benefits that are waiting for us to actually do at the moment.
Dr. Azar Jammine, thank you so much. Really do appreciate the time. The chief economist at Econometrix. Important news today. The gold price going past $5,000 an ounce for the first time in human history.